Hello everybody, Glitch Reaper here. I'm back for another vlog, actually. It's been a while, and I wanted to talk about a few things. Yeah, these two are gonna have quite a time. So let me toss that back, because I wondered if I was going to be able to do this right. So, quick. Okay. Okay, Dolphin and an LA playing together. It just had to be done. They make a good team. Yeah, they do, actually. I like this. Maybe I'll just do this from this perspective instead for a change. And just have them pass it back and forth while I'm doing this. Anyhow, thing is, I've been kind of pondering doing Dawncraft for a while. And yeah, I know, I have a lot of things I was wanting to do on Shadows of Thaumaturgy. And if I could always take a hiatus and come back to it, or I could just kind of keep going with that since it's kind of one of my originals. I do like making my own mod packs quite a bit, but Dawncraft is something kind of special. And it seems to be, yeah, these two really do work together. And it took them a long time to actually make the whole thing, and they put a lot of thought into exactly how to do, like, tons of stuff with it. Like, it is on a later version of Minecraft than my Shadows of Thaumaturgy series as well. Like, it's in, like, 1.18.2. And that's something that could be cool to do as well. It's true we don't have much in 1.20 right now, but we'll get there. And when we do, who knows, maybe all of Dawncraft will just update to it. That would be really cool if, like, the whole pack updated up an entire version. It doesn't normally happen very easily, but you never know. There could be a time where the event actually happens perfectly. And the way that they're making it easier progressively for modders to do that is something also kind of special, where they're just kind of making it easier to progressively make mods easier to update into later versions. So it's definitely something that's kind of at least possible. So we'll see when we get there. That pufferfish does not like them very well. Are pufferfish secretly offended by allays? I'm not entirely sure. Well, at least allays can self-heal with a natural regen, so that makes things a little easier. So, should I be more worried about the dolphin? I'm not entirely sure if I should be more worried about the dolphin or the ally. Anyhow, as I was saying, even then, if I do play Dawncraft, I will add a little bit to it, actually. Kind of like what I did with Solitary Craft Plus, whenever I expanded on what was already a fairly expansive mod pack that had a lot of cool things for its version at the time. At that time it was 1.8, which didn't have a lot that could actually work in it, so I was kind of pushing the limits. And the same can kind of be said for what the creators of Dawncraft did, is they pushed what they could shove all together pretty far, but it came to be incredibly impressive. I guess they really do not like LAs. Okay, you just heal yourself up, and maybe I should take the pufferfish out. I mean, in retrospect, is it really wise to keep a pufferfish in the same tank as other aquatics? I'm not entirely sure. I may have to remove that pufferfish. Yeah, sorry about that little LA. I wasn't thinking about that at the time. I did not know that pufferfish are angered by allays. That is news to me. I'll still toss it in, though, because I think the game of back and forth between the dolphin and the LA is kind of epic. But, yeah, as I said, there's a few things I'd add to Dawncraft that I'm aware of. They may or may not have been aware of them, or they may not have known if they would work with the whole thing, or just thought they weren't quite going with it, even though I think they kind of do. And I kind of give a little bit of why on some of them, too. I've got a small list. This isn't going to be many mods I'm going to add, and I'm not going to go into some of my usuals, as you might think. Some just aren't in that version, some are, but I think they might be admittedly a little too much. And also, it might be interesting to play with a lot of the new mods, including the ones that are specifically just for the pack. Now, in a bit of history behind this, in another way, is I actually played a pack that premiered mods before, and there have been a few that where mods were specifically designed to start with the pack, but went further afterwards. Uh, I've done a bit of Hexit, even though I've never really shown it on camera. I just kind of like it. I haven't really done much of it. It's just something I've done before, but it premiered, of course, Hexit gear. That was like one of the first mod packs to ever premiere a mod specifically originally meant for it, but able to go into other packs. Now, I've also, and I have shown on camera, me doing Dawncraft. Specifically Dawncraft 2, which has been, there's been attempts to update it here and there. I'm curious where, like, the current thing's going. But the fact is that, yes, that one did have a few premiere mods. No, it was not the Lord of the Rings mod. It was actually the first mod pack to have Draconic Evolution. You may not realize that, but it was the one that premiered that, and it went way further past that. I'm obviously not going to put Draconic Evolution in the pack, and even though Hexit gear would actually kind of be appropriate, I'm not really thinking of that one either, even though it's also been heavily updated. But the ones I am going to put in, I'm also going to explain kind of why I think they go with there. One of which is Slash Blade. Now that, admittedly, you may know is one of my favorite combat mods. It adds some really interesting weapons that are not only very fast-paced, like some of the combat in Dawncraft is supposed to be, but also very stylish, which again, a lot of the combat in Dawncraft is supposed to be, and that's why I think it's very fitting. It does involve like a progression system that's one thing about Dawncraft is it tends to seal off a lot of progression until you do certain things, and while I tend to find that annoying, especially when it comes to vanilla stuff, sometimes I occasionally am in the mood to think of it as acceptable, and in Dawncraft I can see some of that. Some. But also partially a way of differently playing some of the mods even I'm familiar with, because, wow, they really do not like allies. I may be forced to finally remove that pufferfish. I mean, the whole collection of fish has been a good thing so far, but I just don't think they agree with each other. But anyhow, as I was saying, the thing is that there's interesting progress when it comes to Slash Blade and some other mods that rely on some vanilla mechanics. Some of that is kind of locked progressionally in Dawncraft. And the thing is, it's not necessarily with the blocks you think. The thing is, a lot of the progress in Slash Blade is basically based on the anvil. And that's one of the things that's initially limited in Dawncraft. I'm a big fan of anvils, as you may also know, and fishing, which is also limited, so I'm going to have to go around and do some quests just to unlock some of my usual stuff. So it'll be interesting doing things a little differently at the beginning, comparably, but I'll be able to make myself the usual super bow-wielding guy that I usually am, and guy who's just the total Minecraft fisherman. Speaking of which, that also brings me to one of the things I'm going to add in, and I'm wondering whether or not it'll bypass that, or if it'll just go with that. And that is aquaculture, which has been updated and now is officially Aquaculture 2. And that's also a big thing, is because apparently they realize fishing is a strong thing, and yes, aquaculture definitely proves that. I'm just wondering whether or not they've specifically, like, eliminated all kinds of fishing rods, or just the vanilla one, because I'm kind of curious if they've realized that could be a slight loophole. And of course, you know me, I kind of do that sort of thing on occasion. So, yeah, I'm probably going to go with that. And that's going to be one of them I'm definitely going to add in. Also, two of them, I'm really curious, with its high emphasis on food and farming, why they have not included, and I will totally have them in. And that is both cooking for blockheads and farming for blockheads. And no, you do not need PAMs for either of those. They just go together with any food and or farming mod, really. They're just more heavily used with PAMs. So there's a similar-ish mod in Dawncraft that's or a pair of them actually that seriously adds some serious extra food stuff, including like crafting food and stuff like that. So yeah, I think those two will go beautifully with it. Twilight Forest, I'm kind of surprised wasn't there. Seriously, I was really thinking Twilight Forest would be interesting, and it would be interesting to play it with the combat system being a little different in Dawncraft. So that could be an interesting factor, fighting off against the Twilight Forest bosses with very different combat than usual. that will be kind of fun in its own unique way. Like, have you ever fought a Twilight Lich before whenever you had combat rolls? Probably not, but it's going to be a thing in Dawncraft. And also, Twilight Forest has some of its own really cool stuff to it that I'm wondering how it's going to synergize. So that's going to be a thing in and of itself. Also, I noticed that I don't think allies can drown either. I don't think they suffer from that kind of damage. Of course, they are kind of a spirit creature. And of course, they can self-heal, so maybe they just don't mind going in the water. Dolphin, you want to pass it up to the ally again? I know you two are doing your whole volleyball game in there, and I'm really enjoying it. Maybe I could make a whole mini game out of this. That would be awesome. Somebody should totally do this. A mini game that's dolphins and allies. That would be something cool. I just love that idea. I just came up with that because this whole thing is just going in its own unique way. And I'm going, this could be a volleyball game in the water. Like, water polo with allies and dolphins. I think that this is a thing that's happening, apparently. Anyhow, going on, there's going to be a few others. Like, hex casting is cool. It has a bit of an emphasis on magic in Dawncraft, and I think that's very appropriate. Especially when they have Hexerai, which is one I haven't played with before. And of course, I haven't played with hex crafting before, but I just think those two sound like they go together. So I'm going, that would be awesome. And speaking of magic mods, I'm definitely adding Mahosukai. I haven't given it its full run, and I think it would be appropriate because some other things in the pack kind of go with that kind of magic. So I'm thinking the themes might actually work well together. So it'd be interesting, really more exploring Mahosukai in depth, rather than just like having it for a few things and stuff like that, and maybe exploring it slowly. I want to do it kind of as a slow exploration, yeah, but alongside the mod pack in ways where as I get more stuff, I can do more things with Mahosukai as well. And it has some really, really cool techniques you can use, so I'm curious how I can work with all that. I know it's still down there. I tossed it in. I know I tossed it in. Don't tell me you threw it all the way over somehow and got it completely past the... Yeah, did you actually... That would be an interesting way to score a point. I'm definitely coming up with the rules of this mob-to-mob game here, kind of as I'm seeing them play out, so... Or maybe the goal is to have like a team of dolphins score by tossing an item to an ally that tosses... This could be done in so many ways. I'm seriously thinking about this while this is happening. I know it's a little distracting, but you gotta admit, it's such a cool thing that's happening right now, so that's gotta go somewhere, right? Anyhow, a couple others is the structures or Explorer's Compass and Nature's Compass. Those two are definitely going in there because there's a lot of stuff to find, and you may need a slight boost finding it. And again, they really do not like allies. I've been able to avoid this for a long time, but I think that pufferfish is finally about to go. Oh well, it's been interesting. So, yeah. Anyhow, but yeah, those two compass mods are definitely in there. And mob battles, of course, I'm going to be doing along the way. And whether or not I need the actual mob battle mod, I don't know. But I don't think so for a lot of them, because there's some really naturally aggressive mobs in there. And although vanilla usually handles natural aggression and retributive aggression better than a lot of mods, there are some that really recognize when they're in the middle of warfare there. So it could be a while before I really need to do that, but then again, never know. Obviously, that's not exactly something that's going to show up in survival, since those are like creative exclusive. But it is something that I'll be doing with like maybe a special world reserved just for doing mob battles with Dawncraft stuff, because that I think would also be kind of cool. And an ally can actually push you a bit. That's something to kind of keep in mind, is beware your little flying friend pushing you around if you're just trying to stand on a narrow area like me on this this glass here. There's a thought. But yeah, and of course, one more, is going to be Grimoire of Gaia. There's a lot of cool stuff in terms of mobs and things in Dawncraft, and because it took so long to develop the pack, I don't know if they even realized when Grimoire of Gaia updated. Like, they may have actually been thinking of including it originally, but it wasn't there early on in the process, so maybe they forgot about it. But it's also pretty cool, includes a lot of mobs. You've seen me play with it before around, and it's something where they show up where they show up. And they can be kind of heavy hitters sometimes. I mean, they can be a group of semi-elites. They certainly add to both a bit of combat readiness being required, but also they have some pretty good rewards of their own. So they kind of are that whole classic situation where you really do get something out of it for the effort. And that's kind of a thing to always keep in mind. If you're going to have like a big challenge, always got to have a big reward. Otherwise, why do you need to bother? So it's just something to keep in mind. That ally is keeping up against that pufferfish pretty well because of its natural regen. So I think they'll do fine. But, also keeping pufferfish in as an obstacle in such a game would also be something interesting. I mean, would they be kind of like a goalkeeper or just an obstacle? This line of thinking is just popping up a lot. So, yeah. This is definitely something I'm pondering. Dolphins and allies. Who would have thought that this would be such a fun thing to watch? I have a new pastime whenever I'm doing my vlogs from now on. Apparently, is I'm just watching these two just completely have this awesome game of item tag. So it's like, okay, so this has been a thing. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I was thinking of adding. Otherwise, it's pretty well balanced. I wouldn't want to shove too much in because Dawncraft is a huge pack. Like, I've also tried developing packs before overall, and oh, that poor dolphin just jumped all the way out. The game is over. Well, there's a sign that's about that time. Well, anyhow, I guess I'll need another dolphin again. It happens. Well, I guess I'll be maybe trying out one of the newer music discs for a change or something. Is there really a miscellaneous thing anymore? So it wouldn't exactly be in ingredients. Yeah, spawn eggs is its own thing now, so where would you put... Be under tools... I'm trying to figure out where were they putting... oh, they put under tools and utilities now. Okay. You got me there. So, I'm digging it. But yeah, basically, I wouldn't want to shove too much in. And if anything doesn't work or has a hard time with the others, I can replace them with something else if I really need to. But I'm only really thinking of going outside those, like, 10 or 11 or so, if I absolutely have to. Or at least, in my... But yeah, as I've tried doing mod packs in the past, whether my own or otherwise, I know that having a lot of mobs can be difficult to balance and keep them working with each other. So I understand I'm definitely not going to try pushing it too far. Because I definitely don't want to just create an inescapable crash situation if I can. So it's a thought. But I'm pretty sure that everything will work out because I have actually done a little testing and those 10 or so do actually work. So, what do you think of my idea of Dawncraft Plus, or Dawncraft EX? Name's still pending for series. Because it'll be Dawncraft with a little something extra. Because, again, I'm also quite aware of a lot of mods, and sometimes people aren't as well versed in them as I am, including just some that may not be as well heard of. Like, Maho Sukai's kind of came on recently, but still a lot haven't heard of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just didn't know about it. Hex casting's very new, and not as many people are avid fishers as I am, so they may not they may not have the angling spirit to know about aquaculture. In Slash Blade, well, there's a slight natural barrier with that one. It's called the wiki for it is in Japanese because the mod creator is Japanese language first and may not necessarily know how to do English that well, so they may not be able to understand the wiki because it is in Japanese. It is still a really cool mod, and just going into it naturally, you can do a lot with it. So I guess they just haven't had the experience of doing Slash Blade, and I happen to have done so quite a bit. So yeah, I'm just way more experienced in Slash Blade than they are. Even if I don't really go that far with it, in terms of what I can really do, I do still just enjoy having it. Also, it was kind of doing the whole slashing through grass first without any other kind of mod, just on its own, just the way it works. So it's like, yeah, just ignore that grass for the combat. It's something it definitely was ahead of its time on, and it may need to be having a little reminder of why it's always been cool. So, yeah, I may be a little more well-versed in ones that I think are fitting, and they may have just missed or not heard of in the first place. So, it happens. So, meanwhile, I think I'm going to be doing that at some point, but I do kind of want to know what you guys think about it. Because, again, it is a big one, and it is a bit of a commitment to run through with. And the thing is that I can always go back to my other series eventually. At least as long as they don't have a world crash that's permanent, like some have had in the past. I know I've had that happen to me several times, and way more often than most. But to be fair, I do have the habit of pushing the limit, and sometimes that has gone horribly wrong. But what can I say? It's me. So I'm going to do that sometimes. This time I'm going to try to take a gentle touch, and I'm going to try to restrain myself. Try. This is an effort, folks. Try to remind me to not go past adding more than a dozen extra mods to Dawncraft. Because that's what I'm trying to accomplish here, is restraining myself while still being very appropriate with the mods. It's something that I'm trying to do very specifically, because I know I have this pattern, and I am going to try to see if I can just once not go so overboard that it ends with a giant world rendering and rending crash, so that just never ever recovers from. I have corrupted worlds in the past, and that's preemptively ended series that I know could have went way farther and been things that people would thought of as just beautiful. So I have accidentally ended worlds before that way, and I'm going to try to not do that with Dawncraft, even if I absolutely can't stop myself from adding at least a few. I'm going to try to make sure that it stays at a few. This is what I'm trying to do. Again, I'm not sure if that's how things are going to turn out, but we'll see. I've even had problems with Mob Battles mod in the past sometimes on occasion, believe it or not, so hence why I'm not going to add that one on unless I really need it for Mob Battle, involving things that are exclusively stuck to the pack. And I mean that because there's certain mods that they're included for it and they don't know how to work outside of it at this time. So we will see if I can add that on later and whether or not it is necessary. I will only do that if I really can't seem to draw their aggro in some other way. And trust me, I do have my ways of making things aggro. So we'll see about that. We'll see. Anyhow, I'll be logging off for now. Hope to hear from y'all later, everybody. And I really mean it this time because I'd like at least a little feedback about this one before I do take the jump. And there's a very good possibility I'll take the jump anyhow. I'd still like to hear what people are thinking about it, because it might be a wild ride. We'll see about this. Anyhow, be logging off for now. Hope to hear from y'all later. Bye for now, everybody.